I'm going to be going through the interactive whiteboard actually on this panel. In order to get to it, there are a few ways, but we're going to click on Whiteboard, the tile that says Whiteboard. And you'll notice the first screen that comes up is probably going to be green. And some people are already thinking, well, how do I change that? So that's going to be the first thing we do. For this video, I'm going to keep it green because it's a lot easier for the camera to see this than a white background. But if you'll look at the bottom, I'm going to step out of the video for a little bit. You'll see down here in this corner a plus sign. That plus sign will allow you to add pages. So it's similar to Active Inspire where you have pages and you can write on pages and go. If you hold down the plus sign, it gives you the different color options and also the different patterns. So you can do lined paper up here, or you can do a grid where if you're working on a coordinate grid, that's helpful. So that's how you can go through and change those. The plus sign, hold your finger down, and it pulls up that menu. Now, one of my favorite features behind this is going to be the pen that actually comes with it. It's nothing special. It's just made of plastic. It's not broken very easily, but it has two different size tips on it. And the neat thing about this panel is this allows us to write in two different inks based on the size of the tip of each end. So let me give you an example. If I take the fine point of my pen and hold it down on the pen icon, it's going to pull up some options for me. And I'm going to say I want to write in red with that in. Now, I'm going to flip over and use this other end that's a little bit bigger. I'm going to hold it down. And I want to write in blue with that end. Now what this does is it will remember the thickness of each end, and now I have the ability to write in two different inks at any given time just by flipping my pen over. So it really saves time whenever you're trying to use two different colors. You don't have to keep going back and forth. The other thing that I like is you don't have to necessarily hit the eraser. If you really feel like hitting that button, you can. But you could just take your hand and start erasing, and it picks that up and erases. So just keep that in mind that you can change the ink anytime you want to, but whatever you touch it with, that's the thickness that it's going to use. For instance, my finger is about the same thickness as the end of this, so it's going to write in blue. So if you keep that in mind, you'll be good. The other options here, if I want to annotate on top of a screen, it gives me the ability in this lower corner. It has, looks like a board with a circle arrow around it. I click on that and it takes me to my last screen. So if I had the browser up, it's going to pull up that. But let's say I wanted to go to the browser. If I click, 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 it's still not going to take me because there's a screen overlay on top. This right here is nothing but a screen overlay, so it lets me write on top of it. Now, I can go back and forth. In order to get out of it, so I don't see the screen overlay, I can hit home. And now let's say I go to my web browser. And I want to annotate over top of this Google search or anything that I've found. In the floating toolbar, the top icon that looks like a computer with a pen, if I click on that, it's going to pull up the tools, so it actually stops. Let me get rid of that. And then I can write on here. Now, keep in mind, it will remember kind of my last choice. So if I want to switch back and forth, like before, I've got to make sure to tell it I want to switch back and forth. So it'll allow me to annotate over top of it. When I'm done, I can just click that same button, and it actually saves a screenshot of that in my files. And I'll go through that with accessing the files on the file viewer in another video. So let's go back to the whiteboard. So when we're on our whiteboard, we can also pull in images. So that's the other button that's down here beside of that screen with a circle arrow. It takes me to anything that's stored on the board, as well as I can go to the file commander to pull in from a flash drive or from my Google Drive. So these are things that you learn more and more the more you do with it. So if you're interested in that, really dive into it and just play around with it. Start just pulling things in, annotating, things like that. But essentially, that's everything you can do with this digital whiteboard. And hopefully, if you have questions, we'll be able to get to you as soon as possible. But also, don't be afraid to play around with it. You're not going to break it. Anything that's there, feel free to click away and do some great stuff.